listen, you better back off because you don't know me. That's the first way. Second thing that we'll do, we'll sit up there and run down a list of all the things that we have done. Trust me, I am not afraid of my success because I have done. Okay? Right? And then the next thing we do, if we don't do that, we run down a list of all the excuses that the lack thereof. Well, the reason why I couldn't do that because the white man keeps me down. You know, all that other stuff we talk about, okay? But I got to a point where I'm saying, excuse me, listen, I'm of my own energy. We got to come outside of that, okay? And so, but I used to think the same way too. Anybody tell me about I was afraid of my own success, I'd be like, please, you don't even know. And you know how I get sister girl you in a minute. Tell me that I'm not afraid of being successful. Who in their right mind would not want to be successful? But when I started studying that thing, when I began to do my research, and I did my research, my thesis and my dissertation is on the achievement moratorium in Black America. Okay? And when I began to look at that, the characteristics were very true. And I talk a lot about that in my quality of life retreats that I do. I talk a lot. I uncover all of that of what we're really dealing with. And so when we look at that, that's our first hindrance to that thing called approaching or avoiding success. That's going to make a difference, okay? The second thing is our external hindrances. And those external hindrances, don't get it twisted, we still have those. And it's centered around the stigmas and stereotypes that is associated with the jaded identity. See, because when I walk in, believe me, I know that I'm already, the first thing that people are going to address, seeing me, when I walk through a room, first and foremost, they're going to see I'm fine, okay? I'm just going to go ahead on there. The second thing they're going to see is that she black. Okay? Yes, thank you very much. All right? So I already know, but with that blackness also comes all of the other stuff behind it. Because we have to face our past, people. We have a past that follows us. And that past says, first and foremost, before civil rights, there was a social dogma that insisted that blacks be inferior. No, pretend to be inferior. Okay? And that was so that we could live the next day. But in that social system, it guaranteed that, or it ensured in the minds of blacks that in any situation where there was a competition of success with white America, basically it was going to result into those negative consequences. We don't have to reach far back into history to realize all the degradation that happened when we tried to achieve. I don't even need to even get into that conversation because that's a dead horse that's been beat to death. Okay? But what we need to look at, and my study started at what I looked at was emancipation when we were supposed to be free. Okay? I'm looking at that point on. And let me help you understand something, because during emancipation up to the Civil Rights Act, basically we did our best achievements during that period of time. You know, because we came out here kicking butt. We let people know we are a contender and we're a competent ally. But what happened? Okay? We have to understand something in this whole thing. When we look at this, let's go back to the achievement factor again, because there's a whole principle in that. Remember I said that first and foremost, there has to be a probability that I'm going to succeed. Okay? Within my head, somehow I've got to realize that it's possible. It's possible. I like what Quan said. He said it's possible that I could have some problems. Okay? But most of us are running around here in denial. You got the problem, not me. Okay? But it's when I begin to say it's possible that I might be broken, then that's when the change occurred. But you have to go one step further, because it's not just in my subjective estimation of my probability, it also rests in the incentives. The incentives, the worth, the value of my action. If I think that this action I'm getting ready to take is worth it, guess what? I'm going to move into that action. If I think that what I'm getting ready to do is going to bring me the success or the living that I want, I'm going to do it, am I not? Okay? And let me just say this. All of us, our incentives are different. We need to stop doing this one-size-fit-all kind of thing to motivate people. Okay? We go into the workplace. I do a lot of corporate training. I want you to come in and motivate our people. Okay? Well, first and foremost, I can do all kinds of things to motivate your people, but what difference does it make? They can be happy for the 2 hours I'm with them. They go out, I feel real good. And then they go back into an environment that is hellish. Okay? You go to, how many of you guys go to meetings, okay? You can go to many Tony Robbins meetings as you want to. What difference does it make? You have to go back to the reality. I was happy back there. Right? But you have to understand something. It's the incentives, and that incentive is going to be different for each and every one of us. Leaders in the room, educators in the room, those city officials, all of you, I'm saying, in order for us to truly make this leap, don't tell me we're talking about closing the gap and we're not individualizing this thing. Okay? If you don't individualize it, you're not doing the work. You're just doing at the work. Okay? So we have to go back and look at this, but I'm just not going to put this on the external thing, because I'm looking more so the responsibility of internal. That's what's important to me. So let's look at this. What really affects my initiative, my incentive for me to move forward? When I was doing my research, I was asking a lot of blacks, you know, and talking to them about their dreams. And of course, every one of them came up with all kinds of excuses, how that wasn't going to work for them and how they couldn't do this and that. And one in particular, I went over to my significant other and I said to him, as I was doing my research and writing my thesis and all this, I said, what does it feel like to be a black man? Because I don't know. Okay? All I know is God made them fine. That's it. You know, I don't know what it means. Right? That's all I know. Okay? So I said to him, what does it really feel like to be a black man in America and frustrated with trying to live your dream? What does it feel like? And he said, you know what, Penny? I'm going to be honest with you. Truly, it feels like playing a game of Monopoly. And I said, what? Okay? I don't discount any information. I'm trying to work it out. I said, okay, explain it to me. He says, sort of like this. He says, like for 400 years, white America played the game of Monopoly. They mastered the skill of that game. And as they walked and went around that board and collected all the property, the utility companies, the railroads, and so forth, so on, after 400 years, he said, then they said, hey, y'all can play. Okay? And we're like, woohoo! But then I looked at that. I said, wait a minute, he's got something, because there was a ring of truth in that. And so I went to the website in which the game shows up at Hasbro's, and I looked up the rules of the game. And let me just share some of the rules of the game, because when I read the rules of the game, something striked that it was of the experience of the black American. And here's what it said, and I call this the monopoly theory. And it says like this: two things that is pertinent to the black experience. First and foremost, and this is actual rules of the game, I kid you not. Okay? There is what's known as the delayed start. In the delayed start, say with me. The delayed start, it says the initial misfortune of going last is a significant disadvantage, because one is more likely to land on property which has already been bought, and then therefore must be forced to pay rent. And having the opportunity to acquire unowned property ain't there. Okay. Sorry. Now here's another thing about that too. One more thing about the delayed start. Now here's the thing. It says players, now this is the rule, you have to circle the board at least once before you're even eligible to buy property. Okay? But here's the thing. When we circle the board, now it puts us in two levels of risk. Okay? First and foremost, let's say by chance, by the blessings of God, we had a little bit of money. Just a little bit. Let's say just by chance, they did give us our 40 acres and a mule. Okay? Let's just say by chance that somehow I was able to sell a few crops and get a few dollars. But now I got to go around the board. And then I'm going to land on your property. And guess what? I got to pay rent. Then I keep going. I got to pay rent. Then I got to pay utilities. Then I got to pay to get a railroad ride from here to there. Okay? I got to keep paying. And then pretty soon, guess what? My little dream is beginning to wane, because the monies that I had put away to save is leaving. So the possibility, i.e., remember the incentive, okay? The possibility through incentive says, I'm not sure I'm going to get this, so what difference does it make? Okay. Second risk of having to circle the board before I can even buy a property or be eligible. Okay. We now risk drawing the go to jail card. You know that one, right? Okay. Here's what it says. A rule of the game. Landing in jail. Players in jail cannot collect rent. So let's say that you had the opportunity to buy you a little piece of house. And now that I'm in jail, I'm going to just go ahead and rent it out. But you can't collect nothing. Oh, well. So you got free boarders now. Okay? You know how that goes. You can't buy a house, okay? And you cannot conduct trade. It says that this can be combined with increasing the price to get out of jail considerably, which makes going to jail a more significant burden. Now, this might be funny, okay, how I'm putting it, but this is serious. We got way too many men and now increasing women going to prison. The recidivism is ridiculous, okay? And so there's an increasing burden for this to happen. And we need to stop externalizing stuff. And when we know that they're out to get you, then you've got to come up with a new game plan. Okay? We got to stop doing what we always done, because that's called insanity. Okay? We got to start doing something different, and we can't look for somebody else outside ourselves to do that. Okay? Let me go one step further. Because now listen, I want you to look at the Monopoly board, okay? Those of you who have played it, I played it with my children. You know, this is just like a map. You know those black lines between the railroad and the utilities and the Park Place and Broadwalk? They all signify space. Okay? Space. That's just how it is on the map. I picked up a book last year. It's called The Science of Getting Rich. My two children have read them as well. They bought their own book. I told them, buy your own book. You got to read it. This is what's important, okay? But from that point on, when I read that book, never again will I look at space the same, okay? Because the author said in that book that in space is the formless stuff of opportunity. Instead of us continuing to get mad because we can't have a part of the railroad, we can't be a part of the hotel industry, we can't get this, we can't be another Walmart. Stop getting mad and think that, and realize there's space between those things called formless space. Your stuff is opportunity there, but guess what? There in that space is your dreams, your ambitions. They can come to fruition. That's formless space, the opportunity to create. And if I don't know nothing else about Black America, we are the most creative people I have ever seen in my life. Stop trying to ride on the backs of somebody else and create your own stuff.